Thank you for clicking on this video, and welcome to the Kingdom Within podcast. I am your host, David Forshee, and in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look within the Telepathy Tapes, Part 2. Before we jump in, if you haven't listened to the Telepathy Tapes yet, I encourage you to check them out so we could jump straight into this conversation together. But just a quick overview, Season 1 focuses on autistic kids who appear to have telepathic or psychic or spiritual abilities. It's a fantastic series, and today I want to get my own experiences with autism, my sister, and my time with the Special Olympics, and how all that all ties into what we're seeing now. Before we get into the video, if you would hit the like and subscribe button, it really helps channels like this grow and helps these ideas get out into the world. I strongly believe that experiences is how we learn from one another, and that's exactly what we're doing here. And that's what we're doing here in this episode. Um, and yeah, just trying to be open, honest, and as grounded as this topic can be. So back in 2020, I had an inward experience. And I think a lot of us did. We were it felt like something shifted inside of all of us at the same time, because we were all trying to process this same event, and it opened doors to real conversations about mental health, autism, and how we experience reality. And that's when it started. I started wondering about myself. I had always known about autism and even spent a little time researching stuff, but suddenly things began to click. Hearing other people describe how they felt, it made me think, man, I kind of feel this way too. I've experienced this, you know. So I took some online tests and they were like 95 to 98% positive. And I know that doesn't make it official. So I went to a doctor to talk about it. And I told him that I thought I might have autism or ADHD and, what the next steps are. He asked me why I thought that, and I tried to explain myself, but that's hard for me at times. And he said, "That's okay. Just go home, write some notes, uh, and what have you," which really helps me. That's why I use notes now in this podcast and scripts in this podcast because it helps my mind, stops from wandering and jumping topics. Well, anyways, he told me, come back in 5 days, write everything down. So I did. Um, so I wrote the full 5 pages, explained why I thought I might be autistic, um, which I think it all speaks for itself, right? Like 5 pages on, anyway. When I handed it to him, he just kind of glanced at it and tossed it aside and said, "Here's some medication for depression." No real discussion, no real explanation. Later, I followed up with him and, asked him, like, what do we do? What's my next steps here? Said that, yeah, I might very well be autistic or have ADHD, but there's nothing that we can really do about this. And I thought that might be the worst thing a doctor could say to anybody ever, especially someone that's trying to get better, um, trying to get their mental health better. Anyway, but that started a big season of self discovery for me, really trying to understand how my mind works and who I am. And I think that's what we're all trying to do in some kind of way. There's a lot of people who have who have autistic traits and still function in this world. And then there are some people who have autism, which is much more intense, where sensory input, movement, and emotions can be overwhelmed by the body. It reminds us that life may not be as simple as we once thought it was. Maybe there's something more going on beneath the surface. And that's where the telepathy tapes really point inward or point towards, right? I met my sister, Jessica, when I was around 15 or 16. So technically she's my stepsister, but just my sister, no step about it. Growing up with her was eye opening. She had violent outbursts at times. She struggled with impulses. There were moments chaotic, where she was chaotic and even scary. And yet, at her core, she was incredibly sweet. Anybody that you talk to tell you how sweet Jessica is. And she loves talking about Jesus and God all the time. So even then, I could see there was something deeper in her, something spiritual. I've always been able to sense that side of people pretty easily. And with Jessica, it felt like she lived closer to that spiritual world than most of us do. Now I describe it as having a thin veil. Like some people are more aware, or more sensitive, or more tuned in. Like our bodies want to evolve towards that. Um, but this world kind of suppresses that. Um, and through her, I spent time with the Special Olympics community, right? I, I was around these people. And at first, as a teenager, I probably didn't want to be there. Probably wasn't the most loving that I could have been about it. But the more time that I spent with them, the more I realized how open and accepting they are. The more love you gave, the more love that you received. They communicated differently. Some use sign language. Some expressed themselves in other ways that weren't typical, but there was always a deep connection there. And the people that were working there, you know, you could tell, they were there to help. No one was there to judge, and honestly, that kind of environment, I kind of felt like heaven a little bit. It's care, it's patience, it's understanding, it's love. So when people talk about telepathy or heightened awareness, I don't automatically dismiss it, especially when we're also hearing about near death experiences, out of body experiences, and these ideas that consciousness might exist beyond our body. Season two of the telepathy tapes, explores this even deeper. And maybe reality is bigger than what we think. Maybe awareness goes deeper than what we have been taught. And with the spiritual awakenings happening all across the world, more people are seeking truth, meaning, and connection. Spaces like the telepathy tapes give people room to share their experiences. We don't have to agree with everything, but listening without dismissing can expand your understanding. Someone might say something that suddenly clicks, something you had never thought before, and that could change your whole life. that quick. I believe that we learn from everybody that we give our time and attention to. And we don't need to ignore anybody's. 'Cause I think everybody holds a special knowing, a special understanding of the world that we can learn and grow from as well. But let's not ignore what pulls us towards these questions. Let's talk about our experiences openly. Not every spiritual moment has huge dramatic effects. Growth is a process. It's choosing to learn, choosing to reflect, choosing to do better. That's why I love Swedenborg and the Gnostic writings so much. Some of it sounds so wild at first, but when you dig in and you start seeing how it connects to your everyday life, how fear shapes us, how love heals us, how inner states create our outer realities, little by little. If you want to keep this conversation going, come join me on Facebook group. Leave a comment. If you want to be part of this show or share your perspective, I would love to hear from you. That's why that's what this channel is all about. Real conversation, real experience, and growing together. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I love you guys. I got another episode coming soon where I'll dive deeper into the Swedenborg um, and how it connects to all of this. So stay tuned for all that. Hit like and subscribe. Let us keep riding this journey together. Have a good one. I love you.